Greetings and welcome to Zord's Planetary Space Program episode 4. Today I thought we would change the format a bit and try to fit more content into the same or less time. This will be done mostly by me being a lot more liberal with the cutting tools. So we're gonna see shorter sequences of everything, starting with this launch. This is a hub for the space station, which we're simply gonna skip most of the trip and cut straight to docking with the station. The goal with today's episode is to launch the components needed for a space station, which I'm gonna put around Joule to make it, a space station where I can refuel spacecraft and use as a base of operations for, first of all, the expeditions to the Jovan moons, and also maybe going to Elo or Dress. And this is the second component we're launching. It is a pusher, essentially. And since we're launching it, well, it doesn't need to arrive fully fueled. We can use its fuel reserve, which is most of the craft, to get it launched. This means that we almost doesn't need a launcher at all. It's just the small fuel tank and the engine at the bottom, which is the craft, and it's being launched upside down because it's more convenient, kinda. And the purpose with this craft is to act, well, essentially as a smart drop tank. It's supposed to be attached to the end of another craft and provide fuel, which will be used for a maneuver rather than the craft's own internal fuel. And now we're launching a fuel tanker. This one is not going to be acting as a fuel tanker at the station. This one is going to be a part of the Joule station, but it's pretty much the same vehicle anyway. The same launcher, and just a few modifications to the vehicle itself. It has, for example, more docking ports and increased RCS capacity. It also has more fuel for its own engines, so it has, well, it's got more delta V. And as you see, it has the modular engines, and we're going to replace those with nuclear engines for interplanetary travel. And this tanker is going to be more or less the heart of the Joule station. It's carrying most of the fuel that's going to be put in Joule orbit, and it's the reason we're putting a station there is to have more fuel so we can refuel our landers. So this one has a trip ahead of it, and now we are launching this weird thing, which is, well, it's two crafts being launched with the same launcher. It's a regular tanker launcher, the slightly bigger version I have. The payload here is half a fuel tanker and the lander, and this will be a lot clearer in a few seconds when we get this into orbit and it's no longer obscured behind the launcher. The reason for the half fuel tank is because I was going to launch this lander, and I had space left for one of these lifters, so I decided to fill one of these lifters and include a fuel tanker carrying only one orange fuel tank, which is half a fuel tanker then. And the half fuel tanker has the same engine and fuel tank setup as the regular tankers, meaning that it has a lot more fuel for itself per unit mass of cargo, meaning that it has also a lot more delta V in the end. So it's actually more suited for interplanetary travel. And now we are launching a regular fuel tanker. This one is just going to the station to refuel all the stuff we launched recently. And we need more fuel than we currently have in the station, so we're just gonna put this one up there and refuel all the crafts. And the space station is becoming very big. We have a lot of parts, and a lot of parts mean a lot of lag. So even in this footage, which is sped up 4 times, we're still seeing lag. And you can see the timer is counting, well, it's almost regular speed. So when I was playing this, I was playing at quarter speed, which is yeah, about as much fun as you could expect. So my goal here is to dock this fuel tanker and unload the fuel and RCS, and then we undock the fuel tanker and get it out of here as quickly as possible, because yeah, we have too many parts and the game is going way too slowly. So we cut away all of the fuel transfer bits, which is boring and takes a lot of time, and we fly the tanker out of here as gracefully as you can fly a multi-ton spacecraft with barely any fuel for maneuvering. And on the way out of the station we almost collide with it several times, because I really want to conserve the RCS fuel for my forward motion, which will lower my orbital velocity. Because I have a feeling this is very low counted on the fuel, and indeed my periaps end up on 40 something kilometers, which it is enough. You just have to sit and watch the thing while it crashes and burns. Now we have changed the engines on our fuel tanker, so we're going to leave. Refueled and re-engined, it's good to go. We detach or undock the pusher, which is going to serve this ship as it goes out to Minimus. Not going to Joule quite yet. There's a month still to wait for the transfer window, but we're gonna prepare by going to Minimus, for reasons that will become abundantly clear at least when we leave. Promise. So yeah, we are just gliding along here, and it looks quite majestic with these two big but different spacecrafts just floating beside each other. It reminds me of, you know, regular shipping here on Earth with big machines that just peacefully sliding along. But it's also quite boring to watch, so we're gonna speed this footage up a bit more, I should say, because it's already sped up a lot. The pusher is, as I said earlier, going to act as a smart drop tank. It's going to dock itself to the rear of the tanker and provide fuel for this transfer burn to Minimus. And it's also going to provide a few more engines so that it doesn't lower the thrust to weight ratio. So we're just gonna plan our... No, before we plan our maneuver, we're going to move outside of the physics range of the station, because right now it's very horrible and laggy. This craft is not the most agile or graceful one. It's well, it moves with RCS, but not very quickly. So we just push ourselves away from the station and time warp until freedom. And now we plan our maneuver, which we cut away because it's boring to watch. And then we align our new huge craft to the maneuver, and we time warp till it's time. Well, we're gonna time warp past the time, because we want to do another one of these burn half before, half after the node, because it's a very long node. And we cut away the long burn until we are almost there. And this is where the genius of the pusher comes in, because now the next thing we're gonna do is a correction burn. But the pusher is not going to do that. We just transfer the fuel, as you see here, so that our tanker is fully fueled, which is what we wanted to achieve. We want to refuel it less by Minimus, because fuel is harder to get there. And now that we have detached, we plan the maneuver with the tanker on its own, and we save that maneuver with the Kerbal alarm clock, which is a feature I love. And then we wait for the pusher to return to Kerbin by itself. I did make a a slight burn to reduce the travel time. 50 meters per second reduces travel time by a day and a half. So that's worth it in my book. And now we need to solve a slight logistics problem. The half fuel tanker also has the modular engines, but because the engines are towards the station, we need to flip the tanker so that it has the other side attached to the station, so we can get the engines pointing away from the station and get to them so we can change them. And to do this, we need to move the lander and its companion fuel tank, which is what we are doing right now. And also, you see the lander has modular engines as well, but we're not going to change those because we need the chemical engines as well. It's going to become, as everything in the space program, it's going to become very clear once we get to the point where it's where we use it. Yep, so we flip the fuel tanker, and then we of course need the nuclear engines, so we're launching those, and you have seen this several times before, so you don't need to see it again, so cut away, and we just watch them approach. And as always, we do this sort of clever thing. We detach the node and we rotate the station away from the node. This looks so cool to me. We're rotating the station while the node is stationary. And then we dock the new engines to station, and as always, we have the old node just floating in space. So we detach the tug and go dock with the node. And my thoughts here is to not do what we usually do and deorbit the tug and the old node. Instead, we're gonna dock the old node back to the station with the tug, of course. And this is because we're going to use the nuclear engines that we just brought here. And if we wait a bit until we have actually rearranged those modular engines, we can bring the new hub with chemical engines with us as well when we are going to throw this away. Cut away, do one quick engine change later. Actually, this took, I don't know, hours in real life time, doing it at quarter speed, moving 8 engines with RCS power only, back and forth. I can think of more entertaining things to do. By the way, this process that I'm using here, the modular engines thing, it produces engines as a waste product. I don't think I know of any other thing that produces engines as a waste product. Very interesting. Anyway, with that done, we're gonna launch our second batch to Minmus. And first things first, we're gonna flip this companion tank for the lander 180 degrees because it appeared to be upside down. The probe core on it appeared to be upside down. So we just flip that. Nothing except the probe core really cares which orientation it's in. So yeah. And of course, night falls. Yeah, but we have lights. We dock the small fuel tanker onto the lander, or the tank on the lander. And these 2, 3, or 1, however you count it, are going to do the Minmus transfer burn on their own. I figure we can spare the fuel. We don't have to wait, 2 days for the pusher to get back. So plan the maneuver, activate the engines, and align the spacecraft, all par for the course. The only thing left to send, now that we have sent this one, is the hub, the first thing we launched, and that one is going to wait for the pusher to come back. And oh, there's the station floating by. Because we want to launch 3 batches, which is going to make up our first wave of hardware to Joule. And now that this thing is on its way and we're planning the node, we are done for the day. I will see you next time. Bye!